I'm here to talk to you today about my experiences of volunteering. And I should say from the start, I have absolutely no qualifications to speak to you, just a belief that you and I can change the world for the better. Often when we look around at things today, it seems that everything is doom and gloom. Many millions of people around the world don't have enough food to eat or clean water for drinking. War, disease, poverty and lack of education blight the lives of a great proportion of the world's population. Governments and large multinational organisations do nothing to alleviate this and quite often seem to contribute to making it worse. And even on our own doorstep, young people are hopeless and disenfranchised. So should we conclude that nothing can be done about this, that the world's problems are too great, there are too many of them, that we are too insignificant to do anything about it? No, I believe that you and I can lead the way to a better world and that individuals and small organisations can make a big difference. The world's problems are very large, but they derive from a lot of small problems, and we may be able to address one of these, make a difference by improving the life of one individual, one family or one community. That's not so difficult to do, but it makes a great difference to the people concerned. I want to talk about the Swansea Solar Education Project. For the last 2 years, this has broadened my horizons and had a profound impact on every aspect of my life. Swansea is in southern Zambia, on the northern shores of Lake Kariba. Its inhabitants are fishermen and farmers, but the land is hilly and the soil is poor. Many children are undersized and malnourished. Our story begins when I was asked to design a website for Discovery Student Volunteering Group at Swansea University for their Swansea project. This group, among other things, works with 9 schools in Swansea, Zambia, which are twinned with schools in Swansea under the British Council Connecting Classrooms scheme. It seemed natural for us to ask about computers in the schools, and we were asked if we would like to volunteer to go with them on the next trip and install computers. Volunteering in Africa was not anything I'd thought of doing, and funnily enough, I came across a survey the other day which said that the top reason given for people getting into volunteering was simply being asked. And I guess it was the same for us. We did some quick calculations on travel costs and said yes. And that's when the bombshell dropped and we were told some of the schools don't have mains power. Now, the project could have come to an end there and then. No power, no computers. But if you're going to change the world, if only in a small way, you don't say I can't do it, you find a solution. And so to the title of my talk, From Sunshine to Raspberry Pi, the obvious solution for schools in rural Zambia was solar power. We set up a solar panel in the back garden of Gioconda IT, attached it to a deep cycle lorry battery, and ran 2 Raspberry Pi computers and monitors right throughout a wet December in Swansea. And that was the proof of concept we wanted. If it worked in Swansea, it would probably be at least a bit better in Zambia. We chose Raspberry Pi computers because we needed something low power that would run off a 12-volt battery. And these tiny computers, about this size, have the functionality of a PC in your office, but cost only £35 and run off a 5-volt charger like your mobile phone. And best of all, they're made in Wales, just at the M4 in Pencoed. For monitors, we had a bit of a problem. It was difficult to get low power ones at a reasonable price. So we bought tablet screens and improvised housings from them with plastic sheeting and plywood. Looked a bit Heath Robinson-ish, but it did the job. And it was the first of many occasions when we realized that we would have to improvise. So in January 2015, we set off for Zambia, very excited, but aware that we were venturing into the unknown. However well prepared you think you are, for volunteering in Africa, you'll be surprised, frustrated, and downright bewildered by the actuality of it. There are lessons to be learned around every corner, but that's part of the fun and excitement of it. Little things took us aback. We'd carefully remembered to take specialist tools for crimping cables and other jobs we needed to do, only to realise when we got to the first school that they couldn't lay their hand on a hammer or a screwdriver. And we very soon had to think outside the box and use whatever was available. Metal frames from broken school desks make marvellous housings for solar panels on the roof of the school, and local people are adept at such make, do and mend solutions, and we soon got to be as well. As an ex-teacher myself, I was very impressed with the teachers in the rural schools. They were often well qualified and could have taken better paid jobs in the city, but they chose to stay in their home environment, and they continued their own learning and extending their skills while educating and nurturing the children. Classes were huge, 50 was nothing, and I was reminded of my own early childhood at the sight of rows of desks arranged facing the blackboard and little in the way of wall displays. Windows and doors were often insecure, but books and pencils were prized possessions. The children's enthusiasm for learning was amazing, as was their politeness and respect for adults. They often walked as much as 10 kilometres to and from school every day, starting off when it was dark. At Bakaza School, on our first visit, the head teacher was very apologetic. There were only 100 in attendance out of a possible 350. The reason he gave was that they were wary of walking to school because a pair of lions had roamed across the river from Zimbabwe and were around in the area. Well, it beat any excuse I ever heard for truancy. That first visit to Africa was eye-opening and life-changing for Howard and myself. But we needed to critically assess if we'd made a difference. And I think we did, if only in a small way. Children who had never previously touched a computer mouse are now able to use the Raspberry Pi computers for word processing and spreadsheets. Their teachers are more confident and more able to address the needs of the Zambian ICT curriculum. There were also added benefits that we hadn't foreseen. At the last minute, we found some cheap LED lights online and took those with us. And I've a sneaky suspicion that at least one of the head teachers was as impressed with those as with the computers. It's pitch dark by 6 o'clock, so with those, they're now able to carry on working or holding meetings into the evening. At one school, we left the Raspberry Pi running an e-learning resource called Rachel. That stands for Rural Area Community Hotspot for Education and Learning. And it's a vast encyclopedic resource, specially meant for rural communities around the world, but with information on everything from how to rear goats to how to teach algebra. It's perfect for self-improvement or research, and the teachers loved it, so much so that we've begun rolling it out to all the schools now in the district. Along with the high spots and successes of volunteering, there are inevitably things that don't go according to plan. With computers, this usually revolves around them not being used through lack of confidence or being damaged through lack of competence. And I saw both of these in the early days of computing in schools in the UK. At one school we went to, St. Malumba Special School, they had been donated a state-of-the-art embossing machine for printing out Braille. But for the last few months, they'd been unable to use it simply because there was something wrong with the paper form feed. When we moved on to somewhere with internet access, it took about 5 minutes on Google to find out how to reset the printer feed. We got a message back to the school, and they were delighted to say a few days later that the printer was up and running and in regular use. Examples like that convince us, if we needed convincing, that there's no point in just donating computers and walking away. There's no point in carrying on with a culture of dependency. So our overall aim is to equip the local people to manage IT for themselves in their schools. To do this, we have two main targets. One is to train teachers so that they're confident in using computers and competent to teach it to children. And secondly, we need some technical help on the ground to deal with the obvious little things that go wrong. In July 2015, on our second visit, we organised training days for the teachers, and they were very well attended, including one which we accidentally booked on a bank holiday, not knowing it was. I don't think that would have happened in UK. There are some teachers now who are quite confident, but obviously it takes a long time before everybody feels equally at home with IT, and so that's something that we will continue to address. We identified a young female volunteer, Bridget, who we began to train as an IT technician. She shadowed us and was able to basically keep an eye on the equipment that we installed. We hope to bring her to Swansea for more intensive training, but at the moment have hit the stumbling block that she hasn't been able to get a visa. That brings me on to local partnerships. It's no good going in with the best will of the world and imposing your solution, never talking to anybody who's going to use it. We were lucky enough to work with the Siavonga Nutrition Group. They were founded about 30 years ago to deal with matters of malnutrition in Zambia. And they still work with women's groups to look at health issues and livelihoods in the community. And obviously, education of children plays an important part for them as well. Through them, we had an introduction to the District Education Board Secretary, and he and the British Council Digital Ambassador, who's based at the high school, met with us on several occasions and liaised with us closely on what their needs and aims were and provided endorsement for our work. They've also identified 26 other schools which they think would benefit from solar-powered computer hubs, so the challenge will go on. It started small with just Howard and myself, but we were amazed at how quickly other people came on board, family, friends, local businesses, and supporters near and far, who have helped us raise funds. They've donated laptops for refurbishment, or they've just spread the word about it on social media. Volunteering is for anyone, but it demands certain qualities. I think you need empathy, cheerfulness, adaptability, and resilience. You'll often have to work very hard and call on reserves of energy and patience. I think that I've come across a very good quote from Margaret Mead, the distinguished anthropologist, and she said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has." So I believe that you and I can change the world, particularly if we work together on the cause. We may need to have funding support from larger organisations wishing to show their sense of social responsibility, but the hard work, the energy, the enthusiasm and the passion comes from individuals. So now I'm challenging you. Find something to be passionate about. Find some way of using your own particular skills and expertise to improve the lives of others. Find something to stretch and challenge you. There are opportunities all around every corner. And just remember that for every person who says you're absolutely mad, there will be others who are there to help and support you. I end with another quote from Margaret Mead. She said, "Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else." Thank you.